I assume if you're watching this, you love cars like I do. What's not to love? The cars we drive usually reflect our personality or the flag we fly. They really are living things to us. They're born, adopted, loved. They serve a purpose or have a job. As they get older, the scheduled visits to the doctor increase until they're finally put out to pasture. Some are resurrected and hit the road again. So why not name them? That's what I'm getting at. This 9C1 has lived a long, tired life and now deserves the restoration it desperately needs. And a name. Well, meet Bear. He lived his entire life in sunny Southern California patrolling the streets. Then after 3 hard years, retired to civilian life. He will now be restored and honor a man who gave his life in service to his community. I hope we do him proud. Okay, now that everybody's been formally introduced to Bear, the 9C1, let's get this party started. Let's rip them apart. Okay, that was pretty quick and painless, right? A couple hood hinges. One thing, guys, when you take the body panels apart, look for shims behind those nuts and bolts that are holding the fenders on, the hood, maybe. There may be shims in there, you know, from the factory, or if, God forbid, it was an accident in its previous life and somebody had to add some shims, you know, to get body gaps right. Look out for those. If you see them, you know, label them, you know, left front, right front fender, you know. The best way to organize, Ziploc bags, Sharpie. You know, I took the hood hinges off. Those bolts go into a bag, they're labeled. Same with the hood. I think we need a new one. What do you guys think? Oh, there's the cap. Potato chips. Who's got the dip? Oh boy. Okay guys, remember when I was talking about shims? We're about to take this left front fender off, right? So we're in the left front door jamb. There is a bolt. You see it in here? There's the bolt head. That's got to come out. And then this first piece is the fender, and then there's 2 shims behind it. So what we have to do is make sure we get those shims. I'll probably tape them together, and then on the tape I'll write left front fender door jamb upper. So just, you know, food for thought when you're taking stuff apart, because if, you know, you don't save those, then during assembly you're wasting a lot of time trying to get everything lined up. Looks pretty good, guys. Super solid. I love it. Some white paint under there. Looks like it. Right? When I took that fender off, up top here was a couple of those shim pack pieces. I'll keep these together. I'll label those. We'll put them in the bag along with these other nuts and bolts. Just a little bit of dirt and dust in here, but everything, man, I love this. I don't have to do a lot of body work. Just got to clean a lot of stuff up, right? So let's get that right front fender off. Pretty cool. I took a hose and scrub brush, kind of exposed the original white paint on the cowl here. The only deal is the seam sealer is just flaking apart, but we'll chip that all off, replace it. I just hosed everything off. There's so many nests in here. I mean, I still got one to get in there. They're just everywhere, but at least I didn't find any black widows or hornets. Yeah, white paint on this cowl as well. Very cool. So next step is going to be getting that engine out. So next weekend we'll be tackling that. Okay guys, before I get Bear's engine and transmission out of them, I went ahead and started draining fluids. Makes life easier, right, in the long run. Less mess all over the floor, especially if you're in your garage and you're gonna be on your back. Ugh, nasty. Can't stress this enough. I said it before, say it again. Ziploc bags and a Sharpie. Anything you unbolt, bag it, label it. The other thing that makes life so much easier in the long run is electrical connectors, vacuum lines. Put a piece of tape around the end, label what it is. I mean, I'm going to be replacing this wiring harness, right? But in the long run, I'm going to have to compare two wiring harnesses and make sure I have everything I need in that harness. So having things labeled is just going to make life so much easier. So let's get the fluids out of him. Let's get the transmission out. Okay, before we get carried away down below, getting the transmission out, there's a few things that need to come apart up here. One being the kickdown cable to the carburetor. We need to disconnect that, get that freed up. There's also a vacuum line coming off a modulator up here. We're going to disconnect that. I pulled my dipstick tube out of the way. The other thing, guys, the way I'm doing this, if you're doing this at home, I'm going to remove the transmission from the engine, right? When you do that, you're going to need to put a jack with a block of wood under your engine, because when you take that rear mount out, everything tips. That means this distributor is going to end up in the firewall and you can break stuff. So you got to be mindful of that. Just be careful. So let's get this stuff disconnected and get down below and get this trans out. Okay, I'm bagging my starter hardware. Just thought I would mention, there's a bracket here as well. Just mention that when you take the starter out, in between the starter and the bottom of the engine block, you may have some shims. You're going to want to save those. Don't lose them. Important. You can have some grinding issues later on. So how about this starter, huh? Only like a ½ inch of dirt and oil on top of that guy. But yeah, so that's, just pay attention to those shims. Okay, 350 turbo hydromatic 3-speed transmission. Yeah, big ball of dirt, right? We're gonna rebuild it in the wintertime. It's a good winter project. We'll go through the whole thing. Just a couple things. Here's that vacuum line that we disconnected at the manifold. Again, you can disconnect it up there, or you can disconnect it down here and just let it hang. It's up to you. The throttle kick down cable. Here's this guy. Again, you can disconnect down here, but if you do and you haven't drained the fluid, it's going to be spewing out of there. So I leave it connected, just pull it down through. It's real easy. Get yourself a piece of steel, flat steel, drill a hole in it, make a little bracket thing. That'll hold your torque converter in there. You know, when you're moving things around, won't fall out on you. Got a mess. But so that's that. We got to get that engine out now. So you got the rad support off. Check this out. Treasure. I know what this is. It's a piece of foam in there. Oh, there you go. Check that out. Sweet, right? Like I don't have enough keys. You know, it's interesting. It's got a square key and a round key, and you know, 9C1s all use just round keys for everything, so that's kind of cool. Wonder what that was for. We're gonna go ahead and set this aside. But yeah, we got this rad support out of the way. Now I got a little bit better access to the engine. I'm gonna continue taking AC lines off, maybe the air compressor, some things that are just clunky in the way. Okay, next on the agenda, we got a supply and a return line for the fuel pump. We're gonna disconnect those. This one here goes up to the carb. We're gonna take that one off. After that, we got motor mount bolt and motor mount bolt. We're going to take those loose. Then up top, we're going to pop that distributor cap off just to protect it, and then pull that carburetor off. Okay, we're pretty close here. I labeled all the wiring I needed to label. Come around here. I forgot to mention you have to disconnect the two lines going to the steering box. Just kind of sat those up here. Yeah, that's about it. I think we're ready to lift off. So folks, thanks for joining me on this episode. We got a lot done, got all the sheet metal off, got the engine out, we got the transmission out, and we got a name. Bear is looking really sad right now. Next episode, we will be removing the front subframe and suspension and all the stuff on the firewall so we can start restoring him and getting him looking good again. So with that being said, thanks for watching, folks. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, helps grow the channel, and see you next time. Have a good one.